Welcome back to I'm Still Here. I'm Larry.
And I'm Heather.
And in this episode, we are going to be discussing metastatic cancer bodies and body image from that.
Can you see me?
I can see you.
I mean, Cam.
You are. I'm very bright.
You are. I feel like we've changed rules today. Woo!
Okay. For those of you not watching.
We're on YouTube also.
Okay, so you want to start us off with this? It is your body.
It is my body, and boy, did it change. Has it changed over the years? And I think, one of the things that doesn't get talked about is kind of maybe the toll that treatments and things take on a body. When we think about breast cancer, I think it's kind of a blessing and a curse that breast cancer, there's so much awareness around it. But sometimes I also get a little cynical and think it's because of breast, right? That there's so much, that people are so all in because, let's face it, people like breasts.
Boobies.
Yeah.
And going back to the very beginning, did you have any clue as to the consequences to your body when we were starting?
No, and honestly, because of my diagnosis, it was like I almost felt like I didn't even have the right to worry about that.
Yeah.
It just felt like...
It was a non-factor.
It was a non-factor, but it's a huge factor.
It is.
I mean, so, the fact that we talk about breasts in a way that, save the tatas and all of these different things. I think it's really, really discouraging for women who are going through breast cancer and are like, I don't know, for me, it made me angry. It's like, this is not about that.
No.
But on the flip side, it also, losing my breasts was a big deal. Bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and that's one of many, many things your body has gone through in the years of treatment. And still today, with scarring and stuff that's going on. But why don't you just take them through a little bit about what you've been through?
Well, I mean, initially we didn't do a mastectomy. So I think it's every woman's kind of gut reaction when they find out that they have cancer is get it out, right? Yeah. I mean, not just women, probably whatever kind of cancer, it's get it out, right?
No doubt.
But that wasn't what we did for my treatment. And when I was able to realize that by having my breast and I had a large tumor and being able to literally see it shrink over time, that was really empowering. But then after 6 months or so, I did opt for a double mastectomy. It was definitely going to be at least a mastectomy on one side. And
do you remember that thought process or the discussion with the doctor or?
I remember asking a doctor for a second opinion, like if that's what they would do also. And they said yes, that was the route that they would take. And again, I just didn't even think to consider the fact that, it would feel different. It would look different. It would change a lot of things about how I felt about, myself, I guess, and not having the breasts that I was, that were mine to begin with. So.
Yeah. And I mean, and the sensation, not only just the lack thereof, the sensation and the sexual part of
absolutely.
breasts.
That's what I definitely completely underestimated. And I think that's what a lot of people think, well, you have breasts. And I mean, just to tell my story a little bit, I didn't do Reconstruction at the beginning because Reconstruction, I think we've talked about this a little bit, is like no joke. And it's a pretty painful process.
And long process.
And a long process. So again, for me, when, so early into treatment, I just wanted, just do the mastectomy, double mastectomy, and be done with it. And I do remember waking up from the surgery. I remember looking down at my chest and just thinking, okay, that's okay. Mm-hmm. It didn't bother me a whole lot. But I think, like I said, I underestimated kind of all of the feeling that would be gone from from them, you know.
And if we take yourself back to, 20 some years ago or whatever, who cares? At that point, it was who cares.
Yeah, I agree.
Literally, it doesn't matter.
I agree.
And it's because you've lived this many years with this metastatic disease that...
But I think what it comes down to for me is like we're taking away pieces of a woman.
Yeah.
And saying you should be grateful that you're here. Mm-hmm. And that's not okay. I mean, I don't know what the answer is.
I don't think anybody's saying that. Mm. I don't think doctors are saying you should be okay. Well, maybe some of them do. Yeah, some of them are freaking crazy. But no, I think they don't deal with people that are 20 years down the road, 15 years. They don't. That's not their world.
Consequences, like it is kind of looking at weighing out the best, scenarios, right, and all that kind of stuff. But I think what we as a society could do better is recognize that we as women who are going through treatment are losing big pieces of ourself and our self-confidence and the person we once were.
Lifelong effects
and
of
we're
that.
Being expected to walk back out into the world with our fake breasts and our whatever wig on our head and go, it's all good, I'm all good. Mm-hmm. And that's just not reality. I'm alive and I'm grateful for that, but I'm not all good all the time. And
you're not whole.
I'm not the same person I was, and I don't feel like I should be expected to act as though I am, I guess, also, you know? So, yeah. I mean, so I had the double mastectomy. A lot of women have hysterectomies because of the hormone status or, some sort of ovaries removed or something, which affects, your hormone status. We're going to talk more about, this is quite a week because we're talking about body image right now. We're going to also talk about sex. So that has a huge, role in libido and all that kind of stuff. And just for me, I also had all my lymph nodes removed. And in doing that, there's a big nerve that runs, through your arm. And I remember the surgeon saying, usually we, sometimes we can see it and work around it. Sometimes it just sort of falls apart. And when I got out of my surgery, she's like, oh, yeah, it should be fine. And I still don't really have sensation in the back of my arm. Mm-hmm. So it's just things like that where you, again, kind of get into things and it's like, oh, don't touch me there, or don't this, mm-hmm. I have so many places on my body, right, that I would say that about. I've had 2 ports. I had a port in my chest, which is super uncomfortable. I had a port in my arm for the longest time, which I actually loved, but I still, because I protected it for so long, I still move that differently or am careful about that or whatever, mm-hmm. PICC lines make you feel super good about yourself. I mean, PICC lines are the line that actually, it literally hangs out of your body, mm-hmm. Just so many things. Scars. I have a lot of scars I've had a lot of surgeries, the list goes on and on. Yeah. There's weight loss initially and weight gain over time. I feel great. That's wonderful. Let's talk about these things. And it's really hard. I mean, I understand where women get negative or feel, defeated, because it's like, gosh, I've come through all of these things, but I still, ultimately, I look in the mirror and I see all the problems, or all the things. One thing that I did probably, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago was that I had my eyebrows tattooed, microbladed, because when I lost my hair initially, all my hair came back, but my eyebrows never came back as dark. So I was always penciling them in, and it just was one of those things that, it bothered me. So, and again, I'm not saying that women that don't have cancer don't ever deal with these things. There's a reason there's a booming business for that. But sometimes I think with cancer, you feel like, oh, should I be that vain? And then it's like, well, no, this is.
Then you get pissed off, though. Fairly.
Yeah.
Fairly. You've been throwing every curveball that I think you can be thrown, and then sometimes, some days, you just get pissed off and you're like, screw this, it's not fair.
Yeah.
And it's not fair. Looking at this, from the person who didn't have any of these things done, but is walked with you through this, it's not fair. And that's not only, we're talking about your image of yourself, and we're talking about others' image of you, which are two different things. But right. I think part of just being a human is we portray our image on other people. We put thoughts into their thoughts, and we're embarrassed by things, or we want to hide things, and then and that's just with a normal body. Right. You throw all of these on top of it, and that's hard. It's really hard.
It is hard, and I think the other thing is I don't know what the right level of acceptance of it is either, because I think there's been times, where even very well-meaning, you might say, oh, you look, and it's like, it doesn't change how I feel. I appreciate that you, I feel like when you look at me, there's whatever, you still feel the same way about me, all of these kind of things, and I do appreciate that, because I know that there's many other women in relationships where that's not the same, or they, their partners will say that they're, turned off, or all of these different things, right? But it's still that balance of, getting through how you feel about things. Like with the mastectomy, so I do the double mastectomy, and then, I don't know, I think probably 3 years or so later, I was like, forget it. I'm tired of looking like a 10-year-old. And, clothing changes, but I don't know if it was kind of during that time, it just felt like nothing fit, right? And the other thing was that, like, when you have everything removed, anything that touches your chest, it was so painful. And I remember one time, like I just remember something, Ty's head actually hitting and just like reeling with pain. And it wasn't his fault, you know what I mean? But it was like, part of, that's what spurred me to kind of do Reconstruction, was to have clothes fit again, to kind of be back into, I don't know, to looking the way I previously did. But like even the Reconstruction, I realized very quickly that it really was just to make clothes fit. Like, I don't look at my Reconstruction and go, dang, that looks like my breast. Because, let's be fair. It doesn't, so.
But, I mean, from the outside of somebody who didn't know you or walking down the street, there's nothing about the outside view of you that somebody would go, oh, you had cancer.
No.
There's nothing. I mean,
no,
you couldn't tell. So my where I'm going with this is, back when you were going through treatment or prior to Reconstruction or those kind of things, I think it was somewhat of an outside image. And now it is almost solely the inside scars and image and things you've lost, ability. I think it's shifted to that farther out. Am I right or wrong in that? Or,
I think you're right with that. No, I agree. And I think there's kind of a, it's sort of the blessing and the curse, and that you can walk through the world without people, recognizing that you have something going on. Right. But then you also walk through the world without people recognizing that you have something going on, right? Yeah, no doubt. Funny when you're talking about the inside image or outside image, all I can think about is that, how sometimes when you go into a doctor's office and they have you fill out the initial paperwork and there's a person or whatever on there and you circle. I'm like, I could circle the whole, I feel like there's very few places that I wouldn't circle, in terms of, or they'll say list your surgeries and give you 3 lines, and I just go, no way. I can't,
you don't really care anyway.
You don't really care anyway. I know that. So, but it does. Yeah, I think you're right with that. But
so the reason is because there's people watching this that are, or listening to this, that are currently probably going through treatment and maybe had a mastectomy or are bald right now, or are losing weight or gaining weight, or these visible things that they definitely are listening to this going, oh gosh, yes, body image, oh my gosh, and everything,
Yeah.
And there's other people who have been out a ways, and it's hard to know that they ever had cancer, let alone have metastatic breast cancer.
Yeah.
That, you can't say it, but those scars might even be greater.
I think for me, they've gotten greater.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think part of it is because the fear of the cancer itself is not in the forefront in the same way. So then you can kind of trickle down to the next level of what's happening.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And
that's a great point.
But so then you do get to those conversations about, I don't want to say quality of life, because I think my quality of life is good, but also the considerations of the things that you've had to deal with, or the way that they're sometimes perceived. I mean, I'm actually, I'll be honest, I'm pretty, I don't know what the word is, kind of sarcastic. I don't know if it's sarcastic, but I know of a fair amount of women who have had a reconstruction of some kind because they chose to, right? And I've had a lot of comments about that kind of thing too, and I just kind of go I've actually had it's been compared to me before that I kind of got a free breast job because of my situation, and I just go there's no
insurance paid for yours.
Yes.
F you.
Yes. And but just the the baggage with all of that is so much different, right? And still, in even the outward appearance of their breasts compared to mine. I mean, we took off all of my breasts.
And there is some research right now. I looked at it.
Mm-hmm. Well, 4
or 5 months ago or something.
Because of my, I've done a second reconstruction.
Right. Yeah. And obviously, I would say, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the number one thing about that you feel like you're truly missing is the feeling, the sexual feeling of the breast.
Yeah,
and what that brought to sex and what that brought.
I just didn't, again, 26, young, dumb, right? Yep. But also, just didn't realize, what a huge component of arousal that was for me. And now, with the breasts that I have, it's no, don't even bother.
No, there's nothing. But there is, where I was going with that is, and I'm not up on this, but they are doing some research on breast reconstruction. There are trials going on right now. I believe it's in Chicago, but don't quote me on that. Where they're trying to take similar technology of, when someone loses a hand and they're bringing feeling back into a fake hand type of thing, because it is just some sort of stimulus being read and being sent to the brain. They're trying to do that, but yet bring that stimulus through a breast implant, which is just a mesh little thing inside the breast on the backside, where that would be sent to the brain to give you that same, or not same, it's not going to be the same.
Right, but to give similar, you a sensation or
a sensation that could lead to turn on or, those types of things. Now, many of them go with the breast reconstructions where they save the nipple versus not.
Right.
And I have, like I said, it's been a few months since I've read on it, but if you are interested in that, we can put more information on that because I do have that saved. But
well, and the other thing I think is just important. I just wanted to talk about this to just say these are real things, and again, while we're all grateful that we're alive, it's okay to be disappointed in some of the way things have gone, or to feel a little.
I like how you say
upset.
Disappointed. I say pissed off. I mean, because certain things just, you do feel cheated.
Yeah.
That's the truth is you look around at all your friends and people that haven't gone through, and maybe conversations or a movie or a whatever, and you go, I don't even get that anymore. And and it's not fair.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I just I'd love to hear some comments and hear from some of you who are listening about these sort of things. Our commitment to this podcast was to talk about the things that didn't get talked about. And I really feel like
this is
a huge one. And even, our doctors who really care about us and are willing to offer some solutions, the solutions are minuscule compared to really the daily.
They still have not nailed let's save their life.
Yeah.
Let alone let's keep pleasure in a breast for the rest of your life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I do.
On the Maslow's hierarchy there. They're not close to that. Although there is some research being done on it. Yeah.
Right.
On one part of this, I should say. There's so many. I mean, we made a list of all of the things that women go through with metastatic breast cancer, and I mean, this is just one.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, and I mean, I think about, like, again, I could circle many areas. If you can hear a little,
there's a siren going on, of course. During
because
the podcast, we don't know why, but hopefully it's not anything serious. I don't know.
See how well the house
if
is
you're
built.
hearing that, it's not your phone going bad.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, we give up. But even like again, the sensation in my body. I mean, I had shingles during radiation, and we still laugh about the fact that like terrible. The top, like my forehead still has not returned. Of course, where do I get shingles? I get them in half of my face, right? Because of that. But just there's a lot of things, and I think sometimes it just even makes me kind of jumpy or whatever, and it's just my body's been through a lot.
So much. Oh my gosh.
And it's it does take me back to kind of that whole concept of, I still am thankful. I'm thankful that it keeps trying. For God's sakes, it's done great things. But man, it changes how you think about things, and
which is going to lead us into our next podcast, which we're going to talk about sex. We're going to talk. We did have some people request that we talk about sex and cancer and how that's affected and what goes on with that and what all we know is us.
Yeah.
But we are going to talk about that in our next episode, and hopefully we share something that you can relate to or.
Well, again, it's just I think it's one of those things that really doesn't get talked about. Like, if anything, it's just maybe a fertility conversation. So. Yep. And yeah.
Luckily, we can talk about that because
I'm still here.
Yes, you are. So, until next time, thanks for joining us. See you.